This message is for Christians in America who follow me. Do you guys ever notice that every church you go to is full of retards? And I don't mean to say it like, derogatory, but theologically speaking, they are retarded. They can't even read the Bible. And they sit around in their study groups telling people this and that about the Bible. Meanwhile, the world is melting around them. It's obviously the synagogue of Satan, which is mentioned several times in the Bible. And churches all over the United States of America, and most likely in other areas of the world too. I guess you other people can get in on this too. They're pretty much compromised, and everybody's an NPC sheep type character. They're not really in charge of what they think. They've surrendered that to somebody else. They're saying that they surrender everything to God, but that ain't God that's telling them what to do. That ain't God that's telling them what to think. And it's obvious. And those are the people who consent to everything that's happening in this world. Those are the people who are the foundation of which the devil is building his new world. Because without them, everybody's gonna know. Because let me tell you how people work, right? There was an experiment that I heard about one time, and it was really this is exactly what's going on here. I think it was the CIA who did this experiment. I'm not for sure. Maybe you guys could say who did it in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. So what they did was they had a group of people in a room that were all in on it. Like they had like 15 guys in a room, and they're all in on it. And they had a few people in the room who were not in on the trick or whatever, and they brought in a picture of a square, and they started going down the line. And first they went to the people who were in on it, and they showed them a picture of a square, and they kept calling it a triangle. They'd be like, "What is this? Triangle. What is this? Triangle." And they just go down the line. And by the time they got to the people who weren't in on it, they said, "What is this?" And they, looking at everybody else, they said triangle too, even though it was a square right in front of their eyes. So that's what's going on here. Nobody wants to speak up because nobody wants to be left out. Nobody wants to be cut off from what they consider to be God. They believe that the church is like such a foundation and importance of their life, and they say, hey, if this church doesn't like me, then I'm not going to heaven. This is the pastor is the moral authority, of any town. The pastor will be the moral authority. If something is not right and he speaks on it, everybody else is going to be talking about it, and it's going to be the talk of the town, right? Because every Sunday we all gather in the same place, talk about the same thing, and in the church in my town, the pastor never talks about anything of any real importance. He's always talking about bullshit. And when I talk to him about it, I go up to him and I say, hey man, what do you think about what's going on in Palestine? I give him a litmus test to see, is this guy fucking, what's going on with him? Excuse my language. You guys have been saying I cuss too much. Okay, fine. Sorry, trying not to. But anyways, I go up to him and I say, hey man, what do you think about Palestine? You know what this guy says to me? He says, man, I don't like thinking about international stuff and all that stuff. I'm trying to save marriages over here. Our town doesn't even have a city manager. Huh? We don't even have a city manager. Why do I got to worry about that? That's what this guy literally says to me, right? So I'm like, okay, all right. You know what I mean? And this is the first time I went to this church. And I'm already like, okay, that's weird. This guy's he's not. I was like, what is wrong with this dude? You know what I mean? So, anyways, I keep going back because I'm looking to see if there's any signal of theological life in there. And he's good. He talks so good, so eloquent. He's smart. He's college educated. He's read a lot. And I hear him talk, but he's always off topic. Like the world is falling apart around you. We're getting dragged into war, and he's praising the military. WTF? and and then a couple Sundays go by, and he announces to everybody, all right, everybody, me and 10 other of the church members, we're all going on a missionary to Germany, and we're gonna do a missionary to Muslims who've immigrated to Germany, and so these are our volunteers. And he's like making a big announcement out of it, and everybody's clapping and all this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, what about the city manager? We don't even have a city manager, and you're going to Germany? Come on, man. You don't want to talk about Palestine? You don't want to talk about, like, literally the Holy Land? You don't want to talk about, how they turned it into Sodom and Gomorrah over there? You don't want to talk about how the gayest, most demonic place in the world is Tel Aviv. And Christians fought and died to make it that way. What the hell is going on here? You know what I mean? So I've come to the conclusion, and it's not just this church. Like, I don't care. Get on the phone. Homework assignment alert. Get on the phone and just start calling every church. And get the pastor on the phone and say, hey man, what do you think of this Palestine thing? I'm trying to figure this out. You know what I mean? I guarantee you, they're always going to minimize it. They're going to act like it's not the biggest problem in the world. They're going to act like something else is bigger, and that's not really their fight. And and it just goes to show you. And right now it's even worse, because in Lebanon, it's a country ran by Christians. Like, there's literally a Christian president, and it's like half Christian, half Muslim, or 30% Christian, and the rest Muslim or whatever. And they're literally bombing and disintegrating the oldest Christian villages to exist. Like they're biblical villages. I don't know all the name of it. I'm not the best Christian. I'm not the most researched of it. But I've been seeing these videos in my feed talking about how some of the most religious Christian sites are getting bombed by the Jews in Israel. And I'm willing to wager that if you talk to them about that, you won't get a good response off that either. And let me tell you why. Because the churches have all been taken over by Jews. That's why. Your church, my church, everybody's church has been taken over by Jews. What they did was they created church corporate structures like the Southern Baptists of Florida. It's like a chain of churches that are all together, right? And it's very corporate. So if you're not talking about what they need you to be talking about, maybe they'll cut off funding. Maybe they'll do something. Will happen. Something will happen. There will be recourse. So he's getting external pressure for sure. Things that people don't talk about, And then you have like the Catholic Church. So I'm always going and talking. I love going to church, and I go to different churches a lot because I want to ask them questions. I want to talk to the pastor. I want to see what they have to say. You know what I mean? And the last church I went to was a Catholic church, and I go up to the father or whatever, and we're talking, and he's a really nice guy. He's a doctor who quit his job being a doctor so he could do this because he had like a calling. So he basically gave up money, and that is super respectable. So, and I have to say that. So I'm talking to the guy, and I'm talking to him about Palestine. I'm talking to him about Israel and stuff like that. And you know what he says to me? He says, what does he say? He says, oh, I'm sorry they're doing that to each other. You're sorry that the Palestinians are... No, bitch. There I go cussing again. No, you're sorry that the babies are dying. Are killing Israelis. You're sorry that Israeli people won't take the Palestinian babies so they don't have to kill them. You're sorry about that. I mean, come on. It's just objectively evil what's going on over there. And all of the churches, they have this religious moral compass, and it's just off. And another thing I noticed is that the pastor at the Baptist church I was going to, people were telling me about a story that at one time he started talking shit about abortion, and he was saying that abortion was no good and people ought not do it, and there was a vote coming up so we could vote to stop it, and he was pressuring people to vote for no abortions. And A lot of people got up and walked out. A lot of people got up, they hated that he was saying that, and they got up and they walked out. So you think about it. The people hated that he was saying, vote so that people aren't allowed to kill their babies anymore. And they walked out. Guess what he never talked about again? He never talked about it again. He never mentioned abortion again. Never. What does that tell you? You have no theological, no religious power. You have no discipline. You care about people and money. You want to keep your you want the biggest. You want to be like the Joel Osteen. You want your church packed more than you want your message to be honest and good and true and powerful. And my message to any pastor who might be looking at what I'm saying right now, is that if you want that, you can have both at the same time. But you have to separate the wheat from the chaff. And you have to say what you say. You'll clear everybody out, but the people who stay will be your most loyal. They'll be your most loyal. And every person who comes to visit from that point on, that societal pressure that caused people to be NPCs and retards who can't think for themselves will be reversed. And everybody who will come to your church, some people will say, no, the Jews are the chosen people. And everybody in church just turns around, looks at them like, no, they're not. Do you know how to read? Here, come here, brother. Sit down with me. Let me read this Bible here verse with you. Let me read this verse with you. Let me show you how you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? And you can change everything, because that's how the Jews fucked us over. So, excuse my language, sorry. At least I'm being cognizant of it. So, you know, I'll go to any church just because at least I get a chance to minister to the pastor, because I think that's another thing that we all need to do. Homework assignment alert. You need to minister to pastors. You need to tell them that they're wrong. You need to stand up to them. You need to call them, talk to them, ask them how they feel about this and that. Do you acknowledge that the synagogue of Satan is alive and well and running our country? Do you acknowledge that? And then get into an argument with him, and just tell him he failed the litmus test. And you know what I'm saying? We need to put some pressure on them. They are the moral voice of the town. This is where all the NPC sheep will go, right? And if you're here with me right now, you're not a sheep, right? You are the chosen one. I'm telling you. Listen, look at me, man. You are chosen because God gave you the ability to see. And why would he give you the ability to see if not to show others? Think about that. And being chosen isn't some gift you're blessed with. It's almost a curse, to tell you the truth, because my life isn't any better because of me seeing. My life isn't any better. It's not. If anything, it's worse. You know what I mean? I really don't have any friends, to be honest with you. I got a few, but we don't really see each other in person. All I have is my family, but it's okay. I'm madly in love with them, and I love spending time with my family. So, but all I'm saying is being chosen is nothing more than understanding that you have a shitload of work to do. And it's not just the Christians, it's the Muslims. There's chosen Muslims too. And they have some work to do within their own stuff. They got the Wahhabis on their side. They got the Sunnis and the Shiites are fighting. They got to work to unite each other. And then they got the Wahhabis are the ones who are telling them the Jews are okay. It's like the Schofield dispensationalists on our side, just the same. You know, Jews have infiltrated all religions. Yeah. So this is super critical, important step, and that's why the Jews spent so much time converting to Christianity. They never converted. They just say they do. They convert to Christianity. They fake it. They get into the church, and then they start asserting their voices, and they get the pastors to change. They're the biggest donors at the church. The pastor is tempted by material means and worldly gifts. You know what I mean? And what do you know about the devil? What do you guys know about the devil? Let me tell you something about the devil. The devil tried to be God, was cast down from heaven to earth, and he can't use truth. He can't use truth or love to get what he wants. He has to use worldly things. He has to use sexual bribery and trickery, and the biggest trick he ever did was convince people he didn't exist on the level that he does. But the devil is at every single political meeting, every single school board meeting, every single church, every single day that the church is open. He's there, making sure that there's agents of his matrix, that if you say something against him or his chosen people, they will speak up and they will rebuke you in his name. They think they're doing it in Jesus' name. They think they're doing it in God's name, but they're really rebuking you in the name of the devil. So do me a favor and start going to church, not just because they can't teach you nothing. You're chosen. What can people who don't understand this teach you? Nothing. But you don't go there to be taught. You go there to teach. I'm not telling you to get up and start telling, you're wrong, and screaming, but that probably would be cool. That would be really cool. Get it on video. Send me the video. I want it. We'll make a compilation. But more like just to talk to the pastor and let him know that there's a demand for that kind of preaching. You know what I mean? Because he could be thinking of it in his mind, but he's kind of scared to do it. The world is falling apart. We are going to war on behalf of Israel. Americans are going to die for them. There's a whole Jewish death sequence that most of us are aware of, in some sense. Jews take over all the levers of power, and everybody else starts dying magically. It's happened throughout history. It happened with the Bolsheviks in Russia. It happened. It happened in Palestine after they helped them and they brought them into their homes. It happened in Canada. They're like killing people over there, all over the world. Doesn't matter where you think. Wherever they have power, next thing you know, lots of people are dying. Lots of people are getting vaccinated. You know what I mean? I was vaccinated. I'm probably going to die an early death. Something is going to happen. You know what I mean? But thankfully, I didn't do that to my kids. I only did it to myself, and it makes me sad. But whatever. Now I'm doing the right things. Now I'm living my life right. Now I'm harnessing the power of God and only speaking the reality into existence that needs to come now. So work with me, notice with me, take the things that I tell you, and please try to do that yourself. If you go to church, talk to your pastor. Ask him why he's not talking about that. Hold him accountable. You know what I mean? If you have political meetings with your commissioners and stuff like that, go and talk to them. Because go everywhere the devil is, you need to show up and speak on behalf of God's chosen people, which is us, me, you, God. Speak on behalf of God. You know what I'm saying? You have a job to do, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be, go. Another thing you can do. This is really good. This is really what needs to happen more than anything. All these things need to happen, but go call a mosque and just tell them, hey, I'm a Christian and stuff like that. I just wanted to call and talk to you guys and see how you are, and just see where that takes you. But call with a good spirit, with intentions of unity. I think that would be something very lifting for your soul if you did that, for your spirit, because then they're closer to us than they are the Jews and the other people who claim to be our allies, who are not. Anyways, if you like what I talk about and you want to know more, go ahead and give me a follow. I want you to keep noticing. It's so important that we notice these things and take our thoughts and turn them into actions. And don't be a goy. Follow your boy and keep on noticing with me.